And here you see a high-level overview of who we are as a company, and it leads into our foundation models. Hopefully all this content is familiar if you've been paying attention to what we've been doing over the last 2 to 3 months since the big announcement in January. But we do have 3 foundation models that are nested within each other and provide all the comprehensive capabilities that can be accessed through the APIs. And so the rest of this detailed documentation goes into how you go about accessing it, how you use it, and what problems they solve. Mm-hmm. When we look on the navigation pane on the left, so a couple things to call out. On the top, you see 4 primary anchors. These are the key sites. Right now, we're looking at documentation. We can switch to the API reference, and we'll go through the detailed specifications. We also have updates. So this is where you'll see release notes and announcements about new functionality for the foundation models. The API itself is and also the languages that are available in our speech recognition and note generation capabilities. We also link out to our support site where we have even more documentation across a couple of major categories. And you can chat with our team and also, get access to the system through this as well. Try to work closely to make sure content is synced across. And in some cases, you might see the higher level, more descriptive information on the help site, on the support site, but then all the technical details here. So we don't want to recreate content unnecessarily or inappropriately and try to make it maintainable. But here's where you hopefully will find all the detailed technical information. And before talking through a couple of details on the API reference, I thought it might be helpful to point out the How It Works page. And this is a page that we've updated recently to make sure that all of the API endpoints have a basic description available to them. So besides looking at what JSON do you have to specify in your request, what's the URL, but separate from all the technical details of how do you use the endpoints, this is just a general description and overview of the endpoints. So meant to be informative, and then also clarifying what is currently available today as you want to use the system, and then what's coming down the road. All of these endpoints that are in the coming soon category are in use by our QWERTY Assistant product. And we're using that almost to alpha test the functionality and make sure we're making it as robust as possible to make it available publicly through the API. How it works, this is the list of endpoints. The API reference has the details for the endpoints. And you'll notice there's cross-listing back and forth. So in some of these areas, like under streams, we talk about the capabilities, and then you can go see how it works in the API reference. But in templates, we're describing the capabilities of templates. This is used when you're making the request to generate a document. But there's a lot of details related to templates, and we have a whole big giant page related to it of what are the out-of-the-box templates available, how do they work. So we're trying to link things together and make it easy to navigate and find the details as you want to go deeper. And another area that comes up often for requests that get made and what languages are supported, we summarize on this languages page. And we talk about the fact that we do support over 10 different languages, but unfortunately, they're not all created equal, and we're advancing capabilities language by language. And so we've introduced a tiering system to explain, what we support and the capabilities of languages at different tiers. And so this is, again, to be transparent and help explain why we might not say a language is available for that real-time dictation. Well, because we don't have it at that premier tier yet. And it doesn't mean that a language at a base tier is useless. It just means that we don't have additional capabilities that were refined for that language. And so just a quick summary of the descriptions here. Languages at the base tier are where we have broad general support for medical speech recognition, medical language speech recognition. And this is the out-of-the-box support when we introduce a new language, typically. Then what we do is take a focused effort on not just saying we have support for that language, but do very targeted refinement and tuning and training based on expanded medical vocabularies. And the ones that have been completed there, where you see the enhanced label. So you can see several enhanced, a couple that are in the works and coming soon, where our teams are actively working on refinement. So that coming soon indicates there's some development activity going on. And this is the language that we'd recommend for ambient documentation workflows. And you can use a base language for ambient documentation, but you might notice it's not as sharp and refined as when the language is in that enhanced category. Then at the premier tiers, we not only have the improvements of the medical terminology, but we add other functionality like the support for commands, building out user-defined dictionaries, and other highly specialized terminologies. So that's the highest tier where currently we have it supported for English. We're very far along with Danish and German. And the goal, of course, is to get all the languages up into that premier level and that premier tier. But it's, again, like I said, not a one size fits all. We're working on that incrementally as we have the right types of customer engagement, market interest, and also the data, of course, to support these efforts. The other important detail on here for our technical friends is that these are the language codes you will use in your document generation requests, in your transcribe, real-time dictation requests. And so that's the other important detail on the languages page is we link to here from the API reference itself. If you say, well, what language do I want to support in my streaming, in my note generation? And you can see, we're linking out to that language page, make sure people realize where they can see the values that are supported. So more to come to make sure we're making it easy for our consumers, our customers. With links like this, we'll do the same for template key as we have published what template keys are available out of the box. And then, again, trying to tie it all together into the processes that we can bring forth for our customers. So these are not core team made up codes. These are standardized language codes that are recognized in the industry, but that's what the request would be expecting. And if you typed Spanish, it'll probably fail and say, what the heck is Spanish? I'm expecting ES for Spanish.
Makes sense. Is there anything else you want to talk through on the API reference page, or maybe we do deeper dives on it later on?
I think that's probably okay for now. If there's specific questions, of course, please raise them. But this is, again, when you look at any individual request, we're grouping them under these tags. So the endpoints that we talk about, but you'll notice that endpoints have multiple different functions. Let's keep it simple with interactions. List all interactions for my account, for my organization, show me all the interactions that are available. So you would use that response, the information, to then say, okay, this is the interaction ID for whatever purpose you might have. But if you want to create a new interaction, that would be the post create interaction. Anyway, so it feels relatively self-explanatory and silly to read out that way, but just want to call out that any given endpoint has a lot of different functions that you can do depending on the need. And that's what our customers will build into their workflow. They'll use these different requests for different purposes. Uploading a recording versus receiving a recording, using a recording to create a transcript, using the transcript to create a document. So that's like we talked in our last video about how you stack the requests and use these individual calls to build out a workflow.
Yeah, so actually, harkening back to that, we had this illustrative piano-looking visual of our API endpoints in the AI platform and tagged to the different foundation models. And we listed the sort of sequence of which endpoints you would use to build a workflow. And these line items here under each endpoint show basically if that is part of the sequence, what is the actual code you're writing to make that happen?
Yeah, exactly. So this shows you all that information. And if anyone needs to get access, in order to use the APIs, get their credentials, you can click the Get Started button, or we also have a more detailed description here under Get Access to try to explain what you need to ask for, how to ask for it, and then this takes you to the request form that hopefully you're familiar with by now. Select API foundation models, and you can specify what problem you're trying to solve, and our team should respond within a day or two.
And on that point, we are doing actively kind of triaging the inbounds that come in through intercom and otherwise, and then making sure that any questions or issues that people are running into when trialing the API or using the API, if applicable, will then result in updates to documentation to make sure we're continuing that feedback loop and refining documentation as such.
Yeah, absolutely. That's been really important to help inform the things that we've updated over the last several weeks. And now that we see what people are looking to do and understand the places we can fit with our customer base, we're going to be building out the example workflow page just to try to help make sure people can get started as easily as possible.
Cool. Let's leave it there, Dan. We'll do a couple deeper dive sessions, definitely on templates as a little teaser, maybe additional ones as well. There's so much richness in the documentation. Nice job to all the teams that contributed to the refinements there. I know it's been a team effort, but we're getting there.
Yeah, we're getting there. Thanks everybody for the help. And if you have questions on the documentation, of course, please reach out.
Please. Cool. Thanks. Have a great day, Dan.
You too. See you later.